Here are 9 steps to get you to the closing table. First, and probably the most obvious one, is you have to go under contract, meaning you have an agreement between yourself and a seller to buy a piece of property. Now, the next step is beginning the process of executing the terms of the contract. And in North Carolina, we have 2 different deposits that have to be delivered in a very timely manner after going under contract, if you have negotiated to pay those. And those are the due diligence fee and the earnest money deposit. The due diligence fee is paid directly to the seller, so you're going to be writing one check directly to the seller, getting that to the seller within the prescribed time frame. And then the other is the earnest money deposit, and that is going to be paid to whoever is holding the earnest money. So that's either going to be the closing attorney, or it could be the real estate brokerage to be held in their escrow account and applied to the closing statement when it's time to close. Now, both the due diligence fee and the earnest money are applied to what you owe at closing. This is not in addition to your purchase price. This just gets applied to your purchase price. The next thing, if you're buying a house, there has to be a title search, but what gets that started is the title request. If you're paying cash, then this really isn't a thing. The offer to purchase itself being submitted serves as the title request. But if you are getting a loan, your lender has to submit to the closing attorney a document. It could be as simple as sending an email with a title request. And this document tells the loan amount, who the mortgagee clause should be on the title insurance policy. It tells us any endorsements that are needed to be procured for the title insurance policy. And we cannot get a title commitment if you have a loan without having received the title request. Otherwise, we will be missing information needed to get the commitment. So that is a step that is often overlooked, but it is one that is needed to get you to the closing table. And it leads right into our next thing, which is a big thing, and that's the title search. We have had other videos going in detail about what the title search entails, but just a quick overview. It is checking for judgments, liens, bankruptcies, estates, UCC filings, any outstanding deeds of trust or other instruments affecting the property. So that's kind of a search of the public records to find out, what affects the property. Do we have any encumbrances? And then this next step is kind of encompassing a lot of steps, or really your due diligence process. And that is inspections and surveys. So if you're getting a survey of the property, if you're getting a home inspection, septic inspection, well inspection, radon, termite, whatever inspections you can get and that you want to get, all that step of checking out the property and getting your service providers in to execute those inspections or whatever services you've asked for during that due diligence period, or even continuing after, like a survey that can be done after due diligence. The next thing is the accounting of the file. And what I mean by that is at closing, you're going to go over a closing disclosure or a settlement statement that's showing the credits and debits between the parties, what you owe, what you've gotten credit for, and ultimately what you need to bring to the table to be able to close. And to get the accounting finalized, we need copies of any invoices that need to be paid at closing. We need to know, have there been any amendments to the contract to give seller paid closing costs, or a reduction in price, or whatever that may be different from what the initial contract said. All of those things have to be given to the closing attorney before an accurate closing statement can be generated. So when you hear it like that, maybe it becomes more understandable that if you are closing in 30 days and you just got under contract, why the closing attorney cannot give you 29 days before closing your final settlement statement. It's because it's not even close to final. It's a lot of things that have to happen and a lot of people that have to provide information to the closing attorney in order to get to that final statement. The next thing to be able to get to the closing table is your lender has to give you clear to close. That encompasses a lot of work on the lender's part, and that's reviewing your finances, making sure that you can qualify for the loan. And they do that through the underwriting process to be able to be satisfied that you can in fact afford what you're borrowing and that you are very likely to repay the loan on time. And next is that the lender has to send the loan package to the closing attorney. You would probably be surprised to know that sometimes by the time you walk into our office, we may still not have your loan package from your lender. So we certainly encourage getting the loan package to the closing attorney's office as soon as possible. As soon as they can be generated, if you've got that clear to close, get it over to the attorney. It gives the attorney an opportunity to review for accuracy, to check, simple things like making sure names are spelled correctly, whatever it may be, so that at the closing table there's not surprises. But if we don't have the loan package, then it will not surprise you. You're not going to have anything to sign, and you won't be able to close. And finally, the last and most important step before you can close is all the money has to be in the closing attorney's trust account. So anybody that needs to be paid out of the closing, there has to be enough money in the trust account to the penny to make sure that is possible. So that means the lender has to send money to the closing attorney, and so does the buyer. And once all of that is accounted for, then we can proceed with the closing, recording, and disbursement process. So there you have it. There is 9 steps that you need to complete to get you to the closing table.